So thank you both so much for being here. I know these weekends can be long. We're so grateful that you took the time to come to DC and all that. So I'm going to throw it to you guys as soon as possible, but I've got one question I really want answered. So your manager, your agent comes to you and says, okay, there's this show, and it's based on the Archie comics, but we're going to add a lot more sex and murder.
Sounds fun to me.
Right, yeah. Was there something?
I'm in.
I mean, was that it? Where you went, yeah, this sounds like something I'm not doing.
Only if I get to have sex with Cole.
Yeah, what comes first, the sex or the murder?
I mean...
That was just a dark joke, sorry guys. Necrophilia joke.
Sorry about my friend over here.
No, the abstract was a dark and gritty take on the Archie comics, which for any comic fan can be a little dangerous when you read like a dark and gritty take on the live action version of Archie comics. So honestly, at first it was I was a little trepidatious about it, and then I did the audition and I read it like Rod Serling from the Twilight Zone, and then because it was just this big monologue introducing the town. Well, I got picked my nose. And then Roberto loved it, and I was like, okay, we're in the right space, let's do this.
How about your reaction when they first come to you?
I wasn't even really that familiar with the comics when I first read the script. So it was quite bizarre. The whole concept was pretty bizarre to me anyways. Redhead, you know.
Yeah, they don't have redheads in New Zealand.
I didn't know I'd be a redhead for the next 6 years of my life, that's for sure.
So like I said, I am going to throw, oh, you guys are ahead of the game. So we're going to bounce from person to person on this side until I forget which side I was on. So help me out on that one. So let's start over here.
Hi, my name's Patricia. I'm from
Hi, Patricia.
I love you guys so much, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
I'm gonna see you soon, Cole. Got the photo op. But my question is, so what's it like being adults but kind of going back and playing teenagers in high school?
Great. I've legitimately played 17 for like 7 years now. No, we get that question a lot, and I think the question is actually most often aimed at the producers. Why didn't you hire people their own age? And it's really because of labor laws. You can't work minors for the hours that Riverdale requires, is one of the greatest first answers. And two, you know, when you're 20, you're really sexy, so you gotta just do it, you know. No, it's fine. You know, the longer you can play youthful, generally looking more youthful in the entertainment industry is usually seen as a benefit because you work for longer. You know, I give me like 3 years and all of a sudden I'm just gonna look 50.
Thanks. And also, I went to college in Fredericksburg, so hi. Over here.
Cole, AKG, it's Kendall, the one who gave you the gift bags.
You're a legend.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're a legend.
So, the one thing I loved about Dylan was last year he did the fan fiction video. Who saw that?
Oh, that was great, yeah.
So, I was wondering, what's the most unique fan fiction or Rule 34 you've seen on the internet involving Sprouce twins? KJ, you're more than welcome to pitch in.
I'm good.
Oh yeah, actually Cammie just sent me a really lewd photo of a fan fiction of KJ and I. You know, that's kind of the nature of, classic. That's kind of the nature of the internet now, is that you end up seeing a bunch of them and sort of taking them with a grain of salt. It's actually quite funny. My brother and I used to read them out loud to the cast of The Sweet Life to really make everyone uncomfortable. I don't know, it's always kind of a funny read.
Thank you. I write Archie fan fiction, by the way.
It's nice.
Hi, over here.
Hi, my name is Molly. My question was, what was your favorite scene in the film?
I think my favourite scene was probably in episode 21. There's some cool stuff coming out. There's a big fight and that was probably my favorite. I can't give you guys too much info, but that was.
I really liked the flashback episode where we got to play our parents, which was a lot of fun, and then get judged really heavily by Skeet. But those kind of, not bottle episodes, so to speak, but those little specific episodes are always quite enjoyable because you get to break from, really angsty emo jughead for a single moment and play his angsty emo father.
Thank you.
Hi, over here.
Hi, I'm Sarah. My friend Eliza wanted to ask you a question. She asked, what are your plans during your break before season 4 filming starts?
I'm just chilling. I mean, at the moment, I'm just I'm doing conventions, which is always fun, seeing you guys. And I'm shooting a movie called I Still Believe in May.
Yeah. Same kind of situation, doing a lot of photography in the meantime, and then I have a small part in the movie right before we start back for season 4. But I realize I haven't stopped working for like 3 years, so I think it's time for a break.
Working for like 26 years.
Diaper commercials were the thing that I started in actually. And if anyone can find those diaper commercials, because my brother and I can't, I will be your biggest fan if you can find those commercials. We were also, wait, one more thing. My brother and I were in a music video it was like for Enya or for like Celine Dion or something. I don't remember, but we were just baby cherubs and we were turning a big hourglass. And if anyone can find that music video too, really appreciate it if you send it to us.
So like what kind of preparation as an actor did you have to do to play a baby cherub turning a giant hourglass?
Like, it was kind of like Daniel Day-Lewis, where for 3 years prior, I tried to get inside the psychological headspace of a baby cherub. I went to the Catholic Church quite a bit. Sistine Chapel, admire the naked baby cherubs on the ceiling. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but you gotta do it for the part.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, over here.
Hi, my name is Veronica, and my question is, what was your favorite episode to film?
Honestly, probably the pilot. The pilot, it's always one of those. Yeah, it's certainly the most memorable. Mainly because I didn't work too much. I got to meet everybody, and it's your first time in Vancouver, and it's one of those experiences where you're just learning so much, and everything is so new, and you're seeing everything with brand new eyes, and you get to really meet your cast.
It's really exciting. It's probably the most exciting episode, I think, for all of us too.
Thank you.
Thanks, Veronica.
Over here.
Hi, I'm Candace.
Hi, Candace.
Welcome to DC. My question is, since you did a couple of musical episodes on Riverdale, who did you think was the best singer and the worst singer?
Cole's the best singer. Really? I mean, you guys saw it. It's amazing. I had no idea he had it. Honestly, I had no idea he had that in him. Hey, good job, dude. Good job.
See, you're about to make us the enemies of all of the girls on the show. So I'm going to say a really politically correct answer, which is Principal Weatherby is the greatest singer on the show.
Hi, over here.
Hi, I'm Katie. I have twin younger brothers. I want to know, Cole, did you ever guys actually do swaps for classes when you guys went to university and stuff like that? Because my brothers have done that.
Yeah, not so much for the actual classes, but we did receive each other's diplomas. Which was the one thing we really did in university. For anyone that spends about, and I'm sure you know this about your younger brothers or older brothers, younger, okay. If you spend about an hour with identical twins, it starts to become a lot easier to tell them apart. So then the whole swapping thing doesn't really apply too much anymore.
Hey, over here.
Hi, I'm Mitch. I'm from Virginia.
Hi, Mitch.
This question's for Cole. I know that your brother, posted on Reddit a couple years ago about commentating on like a Smash Brothers tournament, and I was wondering, are you at all interested in the Smash Brothers community? And if so, would you and your brother be interested in like doing a live stream, like 1v1 Fox only Final Destination kind of thing?
You know, Melee was never really our game in terms of the Fox only Final Destination, no items sort of thing. But yeah.
No idea what you guys are talking about.
He and I thought about doing like a stream where you guys can listen to how salty we get when we play against one another for a little bit. But we don't really, I'm up in Vancouver and he's in New York, so we don't really get too much time to relax with each other. There's like a screaming baby. That's my ears are fine-tuned to it. But yeah, the Smash Bros community, Dylan was always a little bit bigger than the Smash Bros community. But, you know, that's like our favorite game, so I watch sometimes. People get really angry at each other in that competitive scene. We're certainly not that level of competitive. Like those guys, their IQs are just incredible. So it will probably be a bit more boring, but we would bring personality to it.
Cool, thanks.
Hi, over here.
Do you still know how to do the Spitty Slurpee?
All right, you're talking from Big Daddy, the Spitty Slurpee. That would be absolutely horrifying to do on stage. So I'm going to say no. But when we were young, about half of it we did for the movie, and then the rest was CGI. Sorry to break it to you, movie match. You know what I mean? Also, lots of ketchup. With that phlegmy spit.
Hi, over here.
Hi, my name is Liliana. Who is your favorite person to film with on Riverdale?
It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's great.
Yeah, KJ and I we can't look at each other in the scenes because we start laughing. So the scenes take a really long time to do.
Literally, all it takes is one look, and it's over.
Yep. And KJ does his face where he goes like, and that's it. Which is kind of one of the fun, enjoyable things about filming is that you're cracking up so much behind the scenes. But there are times where it's his coverage.
Casey's also really funny.
Yeah, Casey's incredibly fun to work with, but it's his coverage, and he just looks at me and goes, "Don't look me in the eyes."
We've actually done scenes where like he's looking over there, and we have to ask each other to literally like turn around.
It's classic.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Over here.
Hi, I'm Anne.
Hi, Anne.
This question is mostly for Cole, but can be generalized to KJ.
Dope.
Me!
So,
I'm used to it.
Cole,
So still.
so in an interview on your Tick on Jughead, you had mentioned L from Death Note. What other manga or anime are you into besides Death Note, Fullmetal Alchemist, or Naruto? KJ, are you into anime or manga at all?
Again, I have no idea.
You know, I got my Crunchyroll account. I'm all over the map. I started into manga when I was super young with romance manga aimed at young girls. And that's how I sort of started. And then I started getting into things like Berserk, which were just really intense. But I've been all over the map. I mean, I read a lot of manga when I was younger, and now I sort of stick to watching anime when I got time. But we film so much that it's really hard. I'm watching Hunter x Hunter actually right now. Just been binging that all last night. So yeah, that's what I'm currently going through.
Thank you.
Hey, over here.
Hi KJ, hi Cole. So my question is, do you guys ever like prank each other on set? Or like,
We used to more like in the first season.
Now we're bitter and jaded.
No.
We used to scare each other a lot.
It seems some places to hide in the studio when you're on your way to the set, and lots of. I used to set my camera up and scare people a lot, but I don't really do that anymore.
No, is he sad?
Sad and lonely.
Hi, over here.
Hi, my name is Leslie Laurie, and I'm from DC, but originally from New York. And this is for both of you. So, Cole, as everybody who's in my generation, you've been growing up with us. So, you've gone from adorable baby to like smooth, dark, and mysterious. And for KJ, you started acting more recently. So, how do you both differently deal with like this overall like sexualization or like uncomfortable levels of like, hey, we love you, like in the new like pop culture media sort of?
Great question. You want to start? Section.
It's kind of a hard thing to talk about or to explain. I think I started acting when I was 16, so it kind of started around that point in my life. I just think the most important thing for me is to always stay grounded, to have your feet planted firmly on the floor. I think it's easy when you get that much attention to start, your ego can just fly through the roof. So it's important to stay grounded, But yeah, it's always weird to be kind of in that kind of space.
I think firstly we should mention that men are rarely sexualized to the same degree that women are within the entertainment industry. But I think, the degree with which fanaticism sexualizes women is much more lecherous in the way it does than it is for men. But yeah, that's what our show kind of sells in a campy way. It very intentionally sort of sells that kind of idea. But even, and it sounds creepy, but even when I was on Disney Channel, people were doing the same thing.
When you were...
Yeah. And it goes for both parties. It goes for both men and women, or boys and girls in this case, when you're a kid. And that's part of the idolization that exists within film and television. So it's kind of part of the job that you expect to walk into. But the nature of fanaticism has changed quite a bit with social media, where before on Disney, people didn't feel as immediately connected to you, whereas with social media now and the creation of your own personhood as
Feel a lot closer.
Totally. They feel a lot more connected to you in a way that I think creates an illusion that they can come up to you and treat you pretty differently. I also think the double standard with something like masculinity within the film and television industry is that there's lots of grabby, there's lots of touchy, there's lots of things that if the roles were reversed would be a total issue. But our society kind of just writes off as commonplace. So I don't know. It's a mixed bag, but it's one of those things that you sort of expect, and most people with a good head on their shoulders realize that it's problematic. So I also think that the way our society is sort of forming it now is it's becoming more of a public discussion and obviously becoming more taboo, where people don't do it as often. So that's a step in the right direction for all of us.
Really good question.
Yeah, great question.
With the social media and people feeling more comfortable coming up to you, are there any benefits to that with your fans?
Yeah, free stuff. I think social media is a really, really strange thing for actors. And I think it's strange because unlike musicians, unlike models, unlike people who can create their own personhood and sell their own personhood without it being detrimental to their career, the more you sell yourself as your own personality on social media, as an actor, the harder it can be for people to suspend their disbelief for you as a character. And so what you end up getting is a lot of people going, how much are you like your characters in real life? Or how much of yourself do you bring in? So I think social media for actors is actually super problematic. I don't think it's good to show too much of yourself or to curate something that feels genuine or honest on social media, because it can actually, in a long-term sense, be detrimental to people seeing you as different characters.
Over here, hi. Hi, Cole. Hi, KJ. I'm Con. My question is, in what ways do you see yourselves, your personalities, in your Riverdale characters?
I mean, didn't I predict it or what?
I would say, I think I'm really different to Archie, but I think some of those similarities. I think he's very indecisive, clearly. I'm pretty indecisive as well. That's probably about it. We're pretty different. I think me and Archie are kind of different.
Yeah, I find myself to be quite a bit more jovial than Jughead is. He's pretty angsty. But I think to that question, you're always supposed to bring a bit of yourself into the characters you play, because that's how you ground it in realism. It's kind of impossible not to at a certain point, unless you are really playing a character, a character's character, like the Joker is a great example. And then in an inverse way, the longer you play a character, the higher the chances that you adopt a bit of their personality into yourself. So it's interesting, but I don't think I'm actually too much like Jughead in real life. I mean, I think there are parts of the humor perhaps, but a lot of the characters, when you sell a character convincingly, people go, how much are you like your character? Which is actually a badge of honor, because it means you're doing a good job, especially for a show like ours, which takes this incredibly campy material and tries to sell it as something real.
I think a lot of the characters on our show rely on the essence of the actor, you know what I mean?
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi. So I was wondering what your favorite season of Riverdale was.
I think my favorite season was probably this last season.
Season 2 is always a super strange. Like the sophomore year for any show is always super strange, because usually the first season is filmed within a bubble, and the first episode is not released until kind of the final episode is shot. So you don't really know if the show's going to do well. You don't really know what parts of the show are going to do well. So then season 2 is oftentimes the show going, okay, so in a self-conscious way, what about the show was successful? If it was successful, and how do we do that? What is the essence of our show? And I think for me, I love season 1. I think I hold season 1 with a really fond nostalgia, because it was written outside of a sort of self-conscious place, where it didn't really know itself and it had no idea how it was going to be received. And I sort of like the more grounded nature of season 1. But our show's abstract is outrageous and camp, and we're a comic show. So as the seasons have progressed, we've gotten more and more wild, which is also incredibly fun to shoot. But I still have a focus for season 1 quite a bit.
Hi, over here.
Hi, my name's Amy. I was wondering, like, the bloopers are like the funniest things ever, so I was wondering if you guys had a favorite blooper that you shot over the past 3 seasons.
That blooper reel is like half as long as it should be.
The one that we are actually shown at the wrap party is incredibly it's a lot more cursing. It's a way more adult blooper reel, and then they sort of pare it down to make it a friendly PG. I don't know if I have a favorite blooper. in the entertainment industry, the blooper reel is like the thing.
It's way more fun than even watching the show.
Yeah. It's the thing that all the actors and the cast and crew wait for the rap party. I mean, it's like the thing. And there's so much fun that we have on set, so it's really nice to see it all put into the blooper reel.
Thank you.
Hi, over here. What's your favorite part to film? Like, what's your favorite?
Definitely not the incredibly long night shoots in the snow.
My least favorite is spending 3 hours of makeup every time my shirt's off.
Dude, you keep getting more tattoos.
It's not the
Just
tats. The tats aren't the problem. It's the big because I got attacked by a bear. So I have scars all over my
As one does. Yeah, my favorite part of the production cycle is being on set. Acting is this strange dichotomy where you're doing something professional on set, and then this whole world of celebrity is also tacked onto it. So the actual art of acting is something that fits in a completely separate world, which is oftentimes quite isolated, and then the post-production cycle happens, and the fanaticism happens, and the celebrity happens, and that's a completely different part of the job. I mean, it's a totally separate sphere of your job. So just being on set and working with the people you like ends up being the best part of the process.
This part's also really fun too, seeing how the fans react to what we're doing.
I used to cosplay at these conventions when I was younger. The first time I saw a Jughead cosplay, it was like the greatest, it was like a badge of honor. I mean, it was like the best thing ever. So the conventions are fun. It's all like the young Hollywood parties. Weird.
You love it, bro.
My ego loves it.
Hi, over here.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and my question is for both of you. I want to know what your celebrity crush is, and Cole isn't allowed to say Dylan Sprouce.
Yeah, that's my go-to answer. Paul Giamatti. Probably John C. Reilly. I love me some John C. Reilly. Not just in a platonic way. Yeah, I think he's so great. Actually, he is one of the only people that I have super geeked out on in person. Like truly starstruck. Made an absolute fool of myself in front of him.
I'll probably say Ricky Gervais. Big fan of Ricky Gervais. And he's hot.
Hi, over here.
Hi, I'm Sophie.
Hi.
We were wondering what your favorite song was to sing in the musical episode.
That's a you question, bro.
I don't know what to ask.
I forget!
The song that I did with Ashley was probably my favorite one. I don't know if you guys, I forget the name of the song. How does it go?
Chumbus Rising.
Chumbus Rising, yeah. That was my favorite one. I really enjoy the dancing too. The dancing part of it's my favorite. I have a lot of fun.
Dude, you go in on the dance.
I go in on the dancing.
Really good stuff.
Hi, over here.
Hey, my name's Sarah Hart, and I have a question for both of you, which is very important.
Sure.
What are your favorite colors?
Oh, favorite colors?
Yellow's my favorite.
Oh, ew. I like green. Thanks.
Hi, over here.
Hi, my name is Dallas.
Hi.
Hi, Dallas.
So my question's for Cole.
Sure.
You studied archaeology at school, and I'm looking at going into archaeology, so I wanted to know what you liked about that and what your favorite part about going to school for that was.
It's a really competitive discipline, which I enjoyed quite a bit. It's a wonderful lifestyle. Excavation is really empowering and romantic. You get to travel and and sort of put yourself through academia and then work in the sun and dig over a 1x1 trench of dirt with a spoon for like 6 weeks. But the act of finding something is probably the closest thing I've ever gotten to true euphoria. To pull something out of the ground that in my case was close to 30,000 years old, and you're the first person to see it since that point is so euphoric. But it's very competitive, great lifestyle, very hard to make a living in, unless you end up sort of becoming a professor and taking that path, which is very many years in school, which in the States is an incredibly expensive venture. You will have the great, if you go into archaeology and you really enjoy it, it'll be very difficult, but it's going to be a really wonderful lifestyle.
It's really cool to actually see, like Cole will be shooting on location. Cole will be walking around, looking at the ground. He'll crouch down and be like, "Hey KJ, come look at this rock, man." Different flowers, different kind of plants and stuff. I learned a lot.
Hey, over here.
Hi, I'm Julia. You probably get this question a lot, but if you could play any other character on Riverdale, what would it be?
I always go with Kevin. I love Kevin. I love how Casey plays Kevin. It's so good. And I think it would just be a lot of fun.
Pop. I just love his character. He's like this. He's almost like this demigod that just exists in the background and in the heart of Riverdale, which is Pop's diner, and he's the patron of this place, and he's either like serving food or just existing there, and he's also just really cute.
Yeah, like the bearer of bad news as well.
Yeah, or like the prophet of destruction. I've never seen such a terrible person in my life. The Grim Reaper has come back. Oh, damn, Pop. Like, let's send him milkshakes, man. Relax.
Thank you.
Hi, over here.
Hi, my name is Cynthia.
Hi, Cynthia.
My question was, KJ, what did you guys both think about each other when you first got to set?
I thought KJ was going to be a total bro, which was not really the culture that I fit into, because, you know, with social media, I did a little stalking on him to see what kind of guy I was gonna be working with. And he had this picture, you know, where he was flexing, you know, and he's ripped. So he was flexing and he was crushing 2 Red Bull cans, 1 Red Bull can in each hand, and smiling. I was like, oh, like wings behind me. I know, like huge Red Bull wings, and I was like, oh shit, here it goes. And what did you think of me, man?
I actually thought you were going to be a legend, and you turned out to be a legend. But I actually followed, I didn't ever follow you, I only followed that account, Camera Jules. And I was obsessed with that account. I used to love that account. But yeah, you're pretty cool, I guess.
No, hold on. I distinctly remember you saying that you thought I was going to be a prick. So now that you're in front of an audience, you can't tell them a different story.
I thought you were gonna be a dick for sure.
No, I mean we really got lucky. Everyone ended up getting along so well, and obviously he's not like a Red Bull smashing bro, just on the weekends. But yeah, we all got along really well.
Thank you.
Right over here.
Hi, how are you? My name's Nicole, and this is Haley.
Hi.
Hey, Haley.
What is the most rewarding part of your career thus far?
This. I think the most rewarding part for me is probably the friends that I've made along the way. I think being in this kind of industry and working on shows like this and movies and stuff, you get to work with people pretty intimately, and you meet some amazing people, and yeah, I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, I mean, this is an incredibly surreal experience, and success in the industry is oftentimes quite rare and a real privilege when it ends up taking off. Thankfully, I've been part of very many shows and very many projects that have sort of inspired this kind of thing, and it's incredibly rewarding and also dangerously validating. But you get to meet a lot of cool people. The actual act of getting into characters is a lot of fun. And then seeing people and knowing that people are enjoying the show, that you're putting so much work in is yeah, really surreal and awesome. And then you get to see it in real life, and there's a physicality to it that's not just like this social media illusion. It's like it's here and it's real, and it's just really cool.
How do you both keep yourself grounded when you can walk into thousands of people and they all start screaming?
No, I mean, we keep each other grounded as well. I think Cole's always the first person to keep me in check, you know. And I also, I think, yeah, I think it all counts on the people that get around you. I think it's easy to let your ego fly away when you're with other people. I like that.
Fame and success are one of those things that go up and down in the industry. I mean, they really do. Sometimes you're at a peak, sometimes you're in a valley.
Sometimes you're in the lake.
Yeah, forever. But you know, you enjoy it while it lasts, and then you get ready for the next project when it fades.
And wait, which side? I told you this would happen. Okay, we're over here.
Hi guys, I'm Lucy from Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Scranton. I got a buddy that's coming to join us today who's from Scranton. Yep.
Oh, awesome. Well, we will speak the same. We don't pronounce T's, so it's Scranton.
Scranton.
Yeah. With Riverdale having its take on G&G, I was wondering, with role-playing games, if you were to choose to be like a spellcaster, a paladin, a warlock, what type of character would you want to play or connect with the most?
I always pick the rogue.
Oh, same.
Always pick the rogue. And then just the raw DPS that everyone just hates. I'm never the support character, which everyone needs. I'm always like, no, me! The guy with the lockpick stealing the treasure before the party even gets there. Yeah, I almost always pick the roguish characters, or the rangers.
I think I like the knight. The knight.
Thank you.
Over here.
My name's Kim. I kind of had two questions. One was from my friend who does costume and wardrobing for theater shows. And she asked for Paul, in 5 feet apart, how long did it take them to get your scarf just right?
Oh man, what a good question. Forever. It was so specific, and you know, it's one of those things where like, oh no, it was like 2 inches up on the right side. Oh no, a little deeper on this side. But you know, you don't want to like when the continuity changes, it's really bad because then the audience goes, and you don't ever really want the audience to go, with the continuity because it takes them out of it for a single moment. So it's a really important job, and you know, you have to have respect for the process.
I also have one little question that you don't have to know the answer to, but how do you lose a woman?
Forget to cherish her. Why would I not know the answer to that?
I don't know.
It's my creed.
Hi, over here.
Hi, I'm Alex, and I just want to say, Cole, like me and my best friend have been watching you since we lived in Zach and Cody, and we wanted to know what inspires you as a photographer, and for someone who's going into the industry, what should look out for?
The photographic industry?
Yes.
There's a big problem with imposter syndrome in photography, where you can sort of mimic the greats and all this stuff, and this goes for acting too. You can see these figures that have already been quite successful and try to follow in that path, and the truth is,
your personal career is never going to match anyone else's career. I mean, I'm an identical twin, and my career looks different from my brother's. But I think the most important thing for an aspiring photographer to do is just hold the camera at your hip all the time and shoot all the time, everything, documenting everything. Even if you think it's mundane, shoot it, get yourself a good editing program, and then just do it. And eventually you will develop a style. It's oftentimes seen as a game of big guns, where you think you gotta need the best equipment and all this. And sometimes people are confused that the sharpest image is a good image, and that's not really the case. So get, the Hello Kitty camera in the vintage bin at some antique store and shoot away.
Thank you.
Hi, over here.
Okay, so first up, I just wanted to say, I love your dark, edgy comedy. It is hilarious, and I have the same kind of comedic taste. But I also wanted to ask, do you ever get tired of playing the same kind of edgy teenager role in all your shows? Because I know you do that in Riverdale, I saw you do it 5 Feet Apart. So do you ever get tired of that?
Yeah, Cody was a real dark and edgy kid. And Ben on Friends was also a really edgy little guy. No, 5 Feet Apart was interesting because 5 Feet Apart was really an experiment for me, aside from the content of the film, to see how translatable an audience was to film. Which, from a business perspective, is super important. And that is sort of something that comes after if the script is good and the content is pure and you're doing justice to an audience and you're serving an underserved community. But it felt like a really palatable move because it felt like something easily digestible for the Riverdale audience to put themselves into and see if it would put a button to see. So no, is my answer. I didn't get tired of it in that instance. You're also, it's a privilege to pick and choose projects. And it's quite pretentious to say, I'm not going to do this because of my own personal ego. Success and payment in the industry is reserved for very little. And it can be a long road to get there. And I think to choose your projects based on, your own personal ego is oftentimes a slap in the face to all the people that work to try and get a project to be seen. So yeah, my answer is no. I have had the privilege of being able to play different characters since I was young until Riverdale and even 5 Feet Apart. And I'll continue to do that. And when diversity arises, I will be able to do that as well. But for the time being, it's better to work. It's better to be a working actor.
Yeah, I did just want to ask one small question about 5 Feet Apart. That really annoyed me at the end, where when you were transferring, or when they were arguing over who would get the long, couldn't she only get the long because of her certain height, age, and other factors that they mentioned when they said we have like a 23-year-old female?
Sure. Well, we weren't arguing about who was going to get the lungs. It was whether she was going to do the surgery. So surgery, a lung transplant is an incredibly dangerous procedure. All surgeries are very dangerous because the anesthesia can go very wrong, the surgery can go very wrong. So it wasn't like we were competing for the same set of lungs, but rather whether she should do it, which is a really heavy thing to think about, especially if you're that age. And oftentimes the body will reject the lungs. So even after you have the procedure, there's a strong possibility you will not make it based on how your body rejects the new organs. So it is a big dilemma. It's big. And the argument was really me trying to convince her to go through the surgery.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yep.
And this is kind of the worst part of my job. We have time for 2 more, so it's going to be you, and then you've got all the pressure of doing the last one. So go ahead.
Hey, KJ and Cole.
Hi.
Good job on the series. Couple of questions. Have you actually read the comic book? And what is your, opinion about the series, like the whole, the twist on it? And
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with the comics actually before I started the show, but I definitely familiarized myself as soon as I started shooting and found that it was a huge kind of franchise that's been going for a long time. But yeah, I think obviously it's very different to the show, the comics. But yeah, I can see why people enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you grow up in, well, really around the world, but mainly North America, and you know the characters even if you don't really read the digest. Even if you're just drunk going through the grocery store and you see a digest. But yeah, a lot of people are familiar with the names Jughead and Archie and Betty and Veronica, and they become these iconic classics. But it really became a question on how to translate it to a modern audience. And I think the show has done that really well. I also think because Archie comics arose out of this illusory golden age of America, 40s and 50s, that it's fun to, within this current political climate, go, maybe it wasn't like you thought it was, and it was actually a little more gross and realized. So I think I think it's great, and I think it's a lot of fun. And I think the commercial success of Riverdale shows that people wanted it.
Thank you.
All right, you get to wrap us up.
Hi, my name is Ryan. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. So my question for you guys is, what do you miss the most when you're away filming?
I always miss home. I'm always a long way from home, so yeah, I'm constantly missing New Zealand and my family. All my family's over in New Zealand too, so.
That's fair. New Zealand's like one of the greatest places on earth, so I miss it too. What do I miss? I miss Japanese curry. I haven't found a good Japanese curry place in Vancouver yet. I miss that a lot. I don't miss Dylan. No, I do. Yeah, you miss. Yeah, I miss him. No, I miss. Yeah, you miss your family. You miss your home. You miss the sun quite a bit because Vancouver is so rainy. So yeah, but we have a great time because for 10 months of the year we get to work with our friends and just power through working and staying in the same environment and sort of getting in a routine, and then during the off season we just go wild. No, we stay pretty grounded. But yeah, you end up missing your friends and family. It's really probably the most common answer that you would receive.
I want to thank all you guys for your great questions, and I think for you guys, I think I speak for everyone when I say this has been a joy. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.